Broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi everyone, thanks for joining. My name's Shawn Abity and I'm going to be presenting today how easy integration can be between Salesforce and Dynamics ERP using RapidiOnline. We're just going to wait a few minutes to see if any other attendees are able to log in. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the first letter of the first name of our first 4 attendees and I'm going to make that a demo code that I'm going to use throughout today. So we're going to want to remember that. So I'm just going to make a quick note. And that is going to be A, B, C, E is today's demo code. And I'll be referring to this as we go through this presentation and I present the different features of the Rapidi product. All right, so that was A for Andreas, Barbara, Calvin, and Eric, A, B, C, E. All right, so we're going to get started. So like I said, we are going to be talking today about how easy it is to use the RapidiOnline platform to integrate Salesforce with Dynamics ERP. Now, today's presentation is going to be focused on Salesforce, but we also are able to connect to Microsoft CRM. We have a connection for the Dynamics 365 customer engagement CRM, so Dynamics 365 for sales, field service, etc. So you can connect to different CRMs. We can also connect to different data sources outside of ERP and Salesforce for CRM, and we'll be going through those a little bit today too. Okay, so let's get moving here. Okay, so as I mentioned, my name is Shawn Abity. I'm the head of customer success for Rapidi, and I'm based here in the United States, coming at you today from beautiful Providence, Rhode Island. And just a little bit of background on me. I have a long career in implementing CRM. I was a Siebel CRM implementation expert for a long time. And then I started working with Salesforce. And I actually came to Rapidi as a customer, from a customer. And when I was a customer, I was a senior business analyst, everything Salesforce for a nonprofit in the education space. And we were using Dynamics Nav to handle finance. And we were standing up a new implementation of Salesforce to help the distributed sales teams essentially deliver the services to these schools and school systems around the world. And so through the implementation of Rapidi, it was very successful. We were able to use the platform to go on and do some other things. And I really liked it. Coming from my background in Siebel CRM, implementation was always very hard, trying part of every CRM implementation. I really liked the product that they offered, and we're growing in the United States, and we needed somebody local. And that's how I come to you. So I say all that because a lot of times when I talk about ERP and CRM being integrated, I have my CRM hat on. So if I'm not the most ERP-oriented person, that's why. All right. So today we're going to be using a Salesforce Enterprise Edition environment, demo environment, and a Microsoft Dynamics Nav 2017 demo environment. Also, I want to make sure everybody has a chance to ask questions, so please post your questions into the meeting panel, and we'll be stopping along the way to answer them as they come up. Okay, so the RapidiOnline integration platform. So we can connect Salesforce, Sales Cloud, and Service Cloud to any of the Microsoft Dynamics applications. So that's AX, GP, Nav, and we also have released Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central integration for Salesforce, as well as Microsoft Dynamics 365 Finance and Operations connecting to Salesforce. But we are a little bit more than a single purpose solution. We are an open data integration platform, so we have connectors available to some other applications, as well as directly to some other databases, and we can connect actually to a REST API system. That's a little bit more of a custom work, so we would talk about what that engagement would look like. But this gives you a full integration platform in the cloud to be used across the enterprise, and it gives you easy access to all of your enterprise data. So everything from the back end and everything from the front end. You'll be able to put these things together and you'll be able to deliver some really impactful information to your sales teams, your CRM users, as well as keeping the data synchronized in ERP. Excuse me. One of the things about Rapidi, because we are an open data integration platform, we do a direct transfer of data without any staging. So we don't store the data during a synchronization in an interim fashion anywhere. And there's no need to manage any kind of staging tables on either side, on your Dynamics side, or any kind of staging objects or anything like that on the Salesforce side. It's a direct point-to-point transfer. So I think we're all here because we understand the benefits of integration, right? So, you're able to provide a method for your teams to collaborate more effectively. So you're activating this existing data that may live in different places and have different people accessing it. You can now share it across the enterprise, provide that 360-degree customer view to your sales teams, enables the sales teams the internal teams to collaborate in a much easier fashion. There's a lot less email, double data entries, there's no switching between systems. You're eliminating a lot of points of error throughout the entire enterprise. And because we're doing this with integration, you're just organically increasing the quality of your data set. So your users can trust the data, your back office users can trust it, your front office users can trust it. You can generate much more impactful reports, and if you're using Salesforce, get some really flashy dashboards that really tell a story. And we have also seen users report and our customers report increased user adoption on the Salesforce side, because now your CRM users, your sales teams, your service teams, they have quick and easy access to the key data from the back office that they need to deliver a good sales experience as well as a good service experience. And because of that, the platform is positioned to help a company grow. So we can increase customer satisfaction by providing a more efficient sales and service experience, and that enables people to sell more and sell faster. Okay, a little bit about the platform. So we have a cloud platform, and in that cloud platform we have full logging and notification features, a data mapping toolbox where you can handle any kind of transformation of data that you need, a full scheduling system so you can determine what transfers you want to run, in what order, and how often. We actually have open APIs, so if you wanted to, you could manage the Rapidi platform from within your own system natively by using our open APIs. The Rapidi connector is part of this platform. In your on-premise environment, that is the piece that gets installed locally that enables your local on-premise environment to talk to the Rapidi platform in the cloud, which then talks to Salesforce in the cloud. And we'll go over this in a little bit more detail in a few minutes. And we have multiple endpoints. So you can do a direct integration with many different systems and databases. We're very flexible in the technology. You can map as many tables and fields as you want and need, even custom ones. And we're totally secure up to 1.2, TLS 1.2, and we're certified by Salesforce. And I also like to mention that we are the recommended integration solution for Dynamics from Salesforce. Okay, so when we look at the full solution, we have the myrapidi.com platform that I was just talking about with all these features that live in the cloud. We also have pre-configured integration templates. Now these support complete business process. They're pre-configured around best practices. They're completely customizable and fully documented. And these enable users, our customers, to really get up and running very quickly. We've kind of already done a lot of the mapping and figured out everything that needs to happen during the integrations. We also provide, as part of an unmanaged application at the moment, our sales history extension. So these are pre-configured objects for Salesforce that are already built to hold the data coming back from ERP. So all of the sales orders, invoicing, ledger entries, the detail lines, all the lookup relationships are set correctly. You just install it from the private link that we give you when you become a subscriber, and then they're available in your Salesforce at work. Now, we also have released in the first quarter of this year what we're currently calling our Rapidi ERP Lightning components. So these are full-featured Lightning components to present that sales history data coming from ERP. But because they're Lightning components, they give users a quick and easy way to access that data without having to navigate to related lists. And they will work on any account, opportunity, or case page out of the box. And they are also totally customizable. Now, at the moment, these are not part of a managed package. So we would actually deploy these to a sandbox for you and help you promote these things into production once you got your, excuse me, your Lightning pages designed. And we'll take a look at those too throughout our demo here. Now, I'm moving kind of quickly because I want to cover a lot in the demo, right? Everybody wants to see how this thing works, and I want you to see it too. So the last thing I'm going to talk about is our support. We are very highly rated on the App Exchange, and Salesforce App Exchange, and we do get a monthly excuse me, customer satisfaction survey, and we're always very highly rated also. But our support team, we go a little bit beyond just offering a technical solution. So we like to, believe that we are partners with our customers. So we will help you maintain the integration. And maintaining integration will add fields to existing transfers, maybe build a new custom transfer or something like that. Depending on the size of the request, most times, if it's less than a couple of hours, we'll handle it within the context of support. If you came back after you were completely installed and up and running and said you wanted to integrate a whole new set of data or do something a little bit more major, then we would probably take a step back and look at that as an add-on project. So we also like to participate as an advisor with our customers. And in that way, we'll help map out the right process, what data should be moved when, and when during the testing, and actually after in production, we'll help resolve data errors when they occur, should they occur. Okay, we do have a question from Stephen. And Stephen, I'm going to actually follow up with you after the webinar, if that's okay, directly. All righty. So our pre-configured data flows. So I mentioned as part of our solution, we provide the already configured integration templates. And this is an example of what we've already pre-configured. So we do a bidirectional sync for accounts and customers, a bidirectional sync for contacts. As part of a best practice, we have built this under the assumption that most people with ERP are going to be managing all their inventory and product in ERP. So we move those to Salesforce. So that's the products plus the standard price. When opportunities are closed in Salesforce, and so you have a new customer, you have a new sale, we're going to push a new sales order down to Dynamics. When the sales order hits Dynamics, we're going to bring a record of that sales order back into Salesforce. So the open order is going to be available directly in Salesforce until it makes its way through the natural ERP cycle, which is going to be invoicing, credits, payments, everything like that. And we're going to take a look at this in just a few minutes. So essentially our solution, we have our pre-configured mappings. Everything's completely customizable, and it's based on our proven best practices. We don't want our customers to stress about any part of the integration, so we lead everybody through it. We have a full project management approach to handling new integration implementations. And I'd like to stress that, at Rapidi, we sort of follow the Salesforce paradigm of a no-code approach. You don't need to write a single line of code to implement Rapidi. Essentially, if you are able to construct successful formulas in Excel, you can configure and edit a data transformation using the Rapidi product. And we also don't put any limits. So at the moment, we don't have any limits on data, the number of users, or the number of transfers. So because we provide our pre-configured mappings, the implementation time can be very fast. We can stand up customers really quickly in just a couple of days. We establish the connectivity to the data endpoints and pick out some test data and start the transfers. Because it's no programming and it's this proven best practice configuration, it's very robust and it's very flexible. Even though our pre-configured data flows are, which I'm showing right now, come out of the box, you can modify those to be in any direction. Any transfer can be bidirectional. It's very flexible in how you set this data integration up. All right, so the example that we're going to cover in today's webinar is our quote to cash example. So normally leads are flowing into CRM and Salesforce, and they are being managed and worked and converted into opportunities and accounts. And sometimes you're quoting from an opportunity, sometimes not. It depends on everybody's specific business environment. So you get to the point where you have an opportunity that's closed won. You now have a new customer and a new sales order. So at that point, that's when we want Rapidi to create a new sales order in ERP, create the customer if it needs to be created in ERP, and any related contacts as well. And then we'll bring that copy of that sales order back into Salesforce. So we're maintaining and we're building that whole 360-degree picture of the customer in Salesforce. Now I want to call your attention to the left lower box there, the pink box. The product to item, price to price, XXX to YYY. This is to illustrate that we don't have any issues. We can synchronize and integrate master data from either side. It can be sourced from either side and made present in the other side. The XXX and YYY, we don't have any issues working with any kind of customizations. So any custom table, SQL view, web service that is usually a result of a custom card in Nav or Dynamics. One of the Dynamics products. And we don't have any problem connecting to that as a data source. And any kind of custom object on the Salesforce side is not a problem, custom objects, custom fields. And I'll show you a little bit of that in the platform and what it looks like in a couple of minutes here. With the Rapidi technology, it's very easy to pull in new customizations because we read the metadata into the cloud platform, and then the metadata is used during the configuration of our transfers. So after you have your after you have your open sales order in ERP, it makes its way through the natural ERP cycle where it's going to be posted to an invoice, going to be shipped, you're going to collect payments, you might get some credits, some returns, but all this stuff is flowing back into Salesforce and building out this complete picture of what's happening in the back office with a particular account. Now, and I want to stress, I'm talking about our pre-configured out-of-the-box flows. We have customers who have done completely custom types of processing using Rapidi, from all the way from a completely, totally custom ISV-provided third-party app in a Dynamics GP environment, connecting to a totally custom ISV-provided third-party app in Salesforce. They're not using any of our standard pre-configured templates or anything like that. And we also have customers who have decided to go ahead and create specific views for their customizations from Dynamics that are pushed up into custom objects in Salesforce. We don't have any problem connecting to views as a data source on the database side. All right, so I tried to move through that pretty quickly because I don't want everybody to be falling asleep. So I hope not. So we are going to jump right in to our demo here. And like any good, technical quasi-sales guy, I couldn't resist making some tweaks at the final moment, so I hope I don't blow everything up. All right, so some things first, so a little bit of housekeeping. So I have my demo environment for Salesforce, and what I've set up in here so far, I'm just going to run right through it. I have created and pinned list views. Now the list views are all using Salesforce's relative filters. So anything that says new this week in a list view, it has this filter in it where it's created this week. Now this is a brand new Salesforce environment. There's no data in here yet, and I'm going to go ahead and create some, but I don't have any accounts yet. I don't have any opportunities. I don't have any products. There's nothing in the price book. There's been no ERP processing, so I haven't brought anything back into my Rapidi sales history app. So blank slate on the Salesforce side. Now, on the Dynamics side, I have set up some list views that already have a filter. And what I've also done, in the interest of time, is I've loaded up 25 products that I'm going to use as part of this demo. Now, full transparency, because I don't want to see you. I don't want you to see me fumbling around in Nav, and it's going to take too much time. I'm actually going to use a little database query on the back end, and I'm going to set the first 10 products to use today's demo code, which is ABCE for Andreas, Barbara, Calvin, and Eric. Okay, so essentially I have now made my products available for sale. I want to get these up as my master data because I want to make them available so my sales teams can use them in Salesforce. I've already placed a PO, I've received it. I don't actually have on-hand quantity for these products in my Nav environment, but we'll just ship and go into a back order situation. But these are the 10 products that I'm ready to have my team start selling. So how I'm going to do that, I'm going to talk about the Rapidi platform first, and then I'm going to show you how it's done. So the first things, here's the Rapidi platform. First things first, I'm going to look at my connections. Now I have this is like a demo kind of test platform that we have going on, but I want to show you the connections I'm using today. And I have my Nav demo environment is running on an Azure VM that I'm connected to. But this is a very powerful piece of the technology because I've established connectivity to this database. So when I click test, it tells me the connection test is starting. I'm successfully connected. This redesign button is where I get my updates for metadata. So if for some reason I had a custom column added to Nav, and I'm going to show you in Salesforce in a minute, if I had a custom object in Salesforce, I would just come in here and I'd click redesign, and it would refresh the metadata for me in the Rapidi platform. For me personally, I wish we had this 10 years ago because anytime there was a change when you were implementing Siebel CRM and there was a big integration involved, you added 3 months to the project. This literally, if you need a field in Salesforce for some reason and you want to bring something over from Nav and store it into that custom field, you just go into your Salesforce object, you add the new field, you come into your Salesforce connection in here, and you click redesign, and the new field is available for you to work with in your definition of the transfer. So for today's webinar, we're going to be using this SQL connection, a direct SQL connection to the Nav demo database, and I'm using the Kronos USA account. And we're going to be using a web service connection. So I've published some web services out in Nav, and we're going to be using those. So with Rapidi, we like to use web services to write data into Dynamics. And the reason we do that is because using the published web services enables us to write this data and make sure that any underlying application functionality that may exist in Dynamics is going to be triggered. That may not be triggered with a direct write to a SQL database. So if you're in a Dynamics environment where you have GP on the back end, and that's the app that you're using, we do that with stored procedures. So any kind of custom web service, stored procedure, or anything like that, we could set up as a connection, and that can be used when we're writing data and updating data down into the Dynamics ERP. Now on the Salesforce side, it's very simple. We either connect to a production or sandbox. And this is my environment today. It's actually a production type of environment, and we do authorize our users with a small app that we have online that's been certified by Salesforce. So we set up the logging. So I'm completely connected. If I were to add a column or field to Salesforce or a new object, I would just come in here, I'd redesign, and it would be available for me to configure in a transfer. Okay, so now let's take a look at a transfer. And actually, I'm going to look at the schedule first. So before we get into the details of the schedule, I want to show you what a transfer looks like. Here's all of the transfers I have set up to run in my webinar demo schedule. So we're just going to look at this first one real quick. And I am mapping fields. So we can see I've disabled some. One thing I can do when I'm here, I can browse the table layout. So whatever I have defined as my source and destination, in this case, my source is the nav SQL connection, and I want to look at the item table, I'm able to see the fields along with some descriptive information about the fields right here as I'm configuring my transfer. This is really powerful for me personally because I can never remember the actual names of things, so I cut and paste a lot. Likewise, if I wanted to look at Salesforce, oh, sorry. There's a lot of connections in here, so. And this is product 2. So you can see as I type ahead, it's showing me the matches. As soon as I get 2 characters in there, it starts showing them to me. That works everywhere. You can see here I've already have some custom fields that are pulled into the metadata that I'm able to use if I wanted to. I can see actual valid pick list values, so if I needed to do any kind of transformation, I can do it right here in the actual transfer itself at the attribute level. And this is a very simple example of a formula. So Rapidi has a full-featured formulas and functions capability. So I can show you some transfers where we have some very complex formulas in them. And these, we have transfers where this field list is, 100 long, so we're moving 100 different attributes, and 50 of them will have a formula in that. And the formula can be an if, case, just a straight data transformation. We can look up reference data in either side. We can nest these things together. It can be as complex as needed. Okay. The other thing I want to tell you about this transfer, here's where I set this transfer up. So I am defining the source and destination, and I'll get to what this means in just one second. And on my source and destination layouts, and what this transfer is actually doing. So in this case, I'm enabling it to add and update items to Salesforce product 2. Now, when Rapidi wants to write data into Salesforce, we're very conscious about the use of API calls. So with this particular configuration, when I have add and update checked like this, I'm actually triggering the Salesforce upsert functionality. So if my item is there, it's going to be updated with what's coming from ERP. If it's not there, it's going to be added. Okay. Now I want to go back to, and I'm covering a lot of data here, so I hope everyone's paying attention. I'm going to go back to this. This is a reference to a tag. In Rapidi, we have a full-featured functionality where we can set up tags. So these are tag codes, and we can assign values to these codes. And this enables us to declaratively impact the way the transfers execute without having to reconfigure the transfers each time. So essentially, when I use these tag values in my transfers, in my schedules, at runtime, if I'm referencing this code, it's going to be replaced with this value. And we're going to see that here in just a second. And I'm actually going to update this one right now with our demo prefix for today, which is ABCE. All right. Now, I'm going to go back to my schedule. So we've kind of reviewed the tags. We've kind of reviewed the connections. I'm going to go back and we're going to look at a schedule. Right? How do we get these things to run automatically at the right time in the right order? For today's demo, I set up this schedule, and I actually have everything running in the order that I would run it to run in. You would not normally do this in a production environment, but this will be fine for today. Let me back up. And you can see that for today, I've set this interval time for 3 minutes. So every 3 minutes, this entire schedule is going to run. But you can see that I can be very specific. I can be very granular about when I want this schedule to run, the date and time. This is the window of when I want it to run in. So if I said I want this schedule to run every 3 minutes, on Wednesday night between 7 and 9 p.m., I could do that. Its status right now is processing, which should be stopped actually. So I'll have to check that. It tells me the last time I run. It tells me the next time it's going to run. So for today's environment, for today's presentation, I'm going to leave this as 3 minutes because I'm going to be coming in here to stop and start this schedule. In fact, I'm going to stop it right now. So my schedule is currently stopped. It's due to run next at 10:33. Just ran at 10:30. And in my schedule, I have set up some of these tags. So since we have defined our tag value for today as A, B, C, E, we're going to use that in today's demo schedule, okay? And I'm going to set that. I'm just going to click this checkbox, start the schedule up, as long as if this date and time is prior to my current date and time, it will start running immediately. Otherwise, it just picks up at its next just prescribed date and time. One important thing I want to talk about in these schedules is this error interval and notify interval. So since Rapidi it could be on-premise, connected to the cloud, you could use connectivity across there at times. There could be a data error somewhere at times as a result of a missed validation or something like that. And what these two parameters together say is, okay, if this schedule ends up in error, I want to retry it X number of times. This is the same thing. It could be, retry it every hour, number of minutes, days, weeks. I set it to months because I don't want it to retry constantly during this demo. And then the notify interval says notify me after the number of error tries. So as a standard, if we have customers who are running a schedule of transfers every hour, we'll set this error interval to run every hour. So what it means, it says, okay, if this schedule ends up in error, try it every hour. And then as another default for an hourly schedule, we set this notify interval to 5 hours. So what this is telling Rapidi says, if this schedule ends up in error, try to run it 5 times every hour. After the 5th time, notify somebody that something's wrong. So this way, we're trying to limit the number of times that you're notified that there was a break in connectivity or something like that. Also produce an error message that gives you the actual details you need to correct a data error if one exists, and you can just go into either Dynamics or Salesforce, fix the data that needs to be fixed. Rapidi will just pick itself up and start running again. And if there's no error, it's resolved. You don't have to do anything. Okay, so in this particular case, I'm just going to leave this as 1 month, and hopefully we won't see an error. I'm going to save that. My schedule's stopped, so we're already at 10:33, but it's stopped, so it's not going to run just yet until I start it again. And what I want to take a look at now is I can see my history of when this ran. So I can get detailed information here. So it's telling me everything that had happened for every transfer that it ran in this schedule. In this particular case, I didn't have any that were read, none added, none updated. And what I'm going to do is check and make sure that I actually didn't already pass these products in. No. Okay. All right, so just a quick review. I have my transfer set up. I have my schedule set up. And in my schedule, I have my demo code here. My schedule's not running yet. And in my ERP side, I'm using this shelf number to flag these as part of my demo. Now the key piece here that I haven't revealed to you yet is how that demo code actually gets into the schedule. So we're going to take a look at this first one, right? Because the first thing we need to do is get some of our master data. We need to get the items and prices over into Salesforce so our sales teams can start using them. And we have a question from Barbara. Barbara asked about the recent massive Salesforce outage and how the Rapidi schedule would have played a role. So the schedule, as I was describing it, what happened, and this happened to our customers who are using Pardo essentially, based on their error handling interval and notify interval. Some people were notified, quickly that Rapidi couldn't talk to Salesforce anymore. Some people didn't see it till the next day. Some people saw it, after 5 hours, depending if they had the standard notification schedule set up. So really, Rapidi was just trying to talk to Salesforce. As a result, it couldn't talk to Salesforce. The schedule ends up in error, and it just goes into its retry mechanism. And this retry mechanism, even after the notify interval, it will continue to retry for every time. If this was 1 hour, it would continue to retry it every hour until somebody explicitly came in, stopped the schedule, fixed the problem somehow if it needed to be fixed via configuration of the integration. I hope that answered your question, Barbara. So I'm going to jump back into this first transfer because we really haven't done anything yet. All right, and so you'll see that I have a set of tags. So here's my NAV 2017 demo tags. So we were kind of looking at these already. They're all grouped together. So this is where I get my value that's going to be inserted at runtime for which connection I'm using, my value that's going to be inserted at runtime for which Salesforce connection I'm using. I can use these tags as I set them up in the configuration of the table link or the field list. In this case, I'm using them as the source. So what I've said was I am assigning the demo code to the shelf number field in nav, in my items. And when this transfer runs, I only wanted to look at the nav items where the shelf number field equals the value that I've put in my demo prefix code, which I've done in the schedule. One other thing we need to look at in here, we're going to look at it in a few minutes actually. The table link part of the transfer tells us how these records are cross-referenced. So in this case, I'm storing the number field from nav into the product code field in Salesforce, and that's going to be my cross-reference going forward for every time the record needs to be updated or to make sure that I'm not adding a new one using that upsert functionality. All right, so let's get some data. So I'm just going to go back in here. Because my schedule was supposed to run in the past, I'm going to start it up, and I'm going to let it go. I'm going to make sure that I have my correct demo prefix code that matches this demo prefix code from nav. I'm going to go into my new products. Here's my new products. They've been added. They've been pulled over from nav. You can see my last modified date and time is right now. And I'm going to look at these. What we do as part of our standard is we'll take the unit price field from the nav item price or from Dynamics item price, and our preconfigured, I had to refresh this, our preconfigured integrations create the price book entries in the Salesforce standard price book for that. So here's all my items with their unit prices as they were defined in nav on my ERP side. Okay. So now I've got my master data in, got my items, my prices. I don't have any accounts I'm selling to yet. I don't have any opportunities. So I have a test data factory here that I'm going to use, and I'm going to generate some accounts. And since I already have my products loaded, I'm going to create opportunities. So I'm going to create 3 opportunities per account. So some of the, in real life, some of this isn't going to make sense, but you'll get a good idea of what Rapidi can do and how it's working. All right, so let me check my accounts. There's my new accounts. A couple things I'm going to go through. I have some flags here. I have this field as a nav customer number. This field is a transfer date and time field. Likewise, in opportunities, let's just take a look at a couple and see how they were created. This first one, here's my products that have been entered. There's something slightly haywire in the demo data builder that puts the product twice on the opportunity, but that's not going to impact us in any way. Okay, so I also have here create nav order number, and transferred. So one of the things I want to talk about here is how we use these fields in conjunction with source control in Rapidi and in filtering. So Rapidi, with the combination of the source control and the combination of the filters that you can apply, you can get very granular with the data that you want to push back and forth. And I'm also going to just jump right in here. So I'm going to pick a couple different accounts. So like that one, that one, that one, that one. So I have 5 that I'm going to close win. All my accounts closed 1. So you'll see that I have this create and nav checkbox. I set up a couple small workflow rules that say whenever an opportunity is closed win, set this flag to true. I want Rapidi to see this flag and say I have a new opportunity that I need to create a new sale. Now likewise on my account side, for these new opportunities, I also have a workflow rule that says, okay, create my, set my flag to create this in nav. And you can see that I left the transfer running, so my customers have already been created. So I've already gotten back the nav customer number. It tells me the date and time it was transferred. And if I go look in nav, I'm going to see these customers there. And let's see what happened with the opportunities. And I've already created my opportunities in nav also. I've got my nav order numbers back. It tells me when they were created. Okay, now that we've seen this happen and how this data comes back into Salesforce, I'm just going to look real quickly. Here's our list of sales orders that we've created. Here's my list of sales lines. Now this is all coming from ERP, and this is our pre-configured sales order object that we deliver to you. Now I mentioned the pre-configured Rapidi Lightning components. So here they are, the financial summary, item history, which shows a record of everything that's shipped, the sales history, everything that's been shipped, invoice, credit memos, and open orders. So you can start to build some really meaningful and powerful reports. We have an under construction dashboard that's going to be released as part of our solution also. So I've refreshed it. I've got one of my new products is 10 of my new products are in opportunities worth 200,000. I've closed 5 opportunities for them. I've got a bunch of new orders that have been added. Some of my data is a little crazy in here based on the dates that I have available. And I don't have any invoices yet. But you can see how you can start generating some really meaningful reports and dashboards that you can automatically push out to your teams as you need to, combining the ERP data with your Salesforce data. Okay. So now before I go any further, I talked a bit about source control and filters. So as part of that, I'm going to look at this transfer, which transfers opportunities down to nav sales orders. And I keep saying nav, but this could be any Dynamics on the side. In the source control, I said, okay, I want to populate, I have a transferred field and a store new ID field. And in my table link, I've configured it specifically because I want to use the store new ID field. I don't have a commit per set here, But I can commit records from 1 to 200. If you're familiar with data loader and how you can chunk data, or if you use Jitterbit or something like that to move data in and out, we use the same facility on Salesforce, so we can have 200 record transactions happen in one API call. So we want to make sure that we're always preserving the use of the APIs so that we're not overloading them. And what this particular configuration of this transfer is saying is for every successful record that's committed, I don't have this filled in, so it defaults to 1. Every successful commit for the Salesforce record identified by this record ID, take the resulting number field from Dynamics and put it in this field, this custom nav order number field in Opportunity, and also update the date time into this transferred field. This transferred field can be a checkbox or it can be a date time field. I like to use date time so that we can build out some history about what's happening with the transfers and the data that's moving. So this is how I get my order numbers back into the opportunities, my account numbers, customer numbers back into the accounts. It all happens in one transaction. Rapidi doesn't have to go back and check and do anything. Also, when I was talking about the error method or the error retry and things like that, because we use this source control and filtering, I wanted to show you the filters on here too, which I will do. When the Rapidi picks itself back up after an error, say for example, you were moving 5,000 customer records, and Salesforce, you lost connectivity for a couple seconds at record number 4901. When this restarts, because we're using this source control in addition with the filters, when it restarts, it doesn't have to go back and start from record 1 until it gets all the way up to record 4900 and says, okay, now I need to start these new records I didn't get last time. It just immediately picks up, says, oh, I'm starting, at record 4901 because everything else was already done. It doesn't even have to look at it. So this is a really easy way to recover from errors without a lot of manipulating. Because we don't do any interim storage and there is no staging tables required, there's nothing that has to be unwound or redone or anything like that. So in this transfer for the opportunities to sales orders, when I have a successful commit, I'm getting my nav order number back and marking the field as transferred, marking the record as transferred. And in my filters, I have a filter for today's demo code using my tag value, so it's inserted at runtime. My nav order number is blank, and my create nav is true. So you can get very granular and very specific with these filters also when you're transferring data and setting up these transfers. An advanced feature I want to cover right here just for 30 seconds, especially since we're using this as a sub-transfer. So in this particular card that's published, this web service published from nav that we're using, we can write the opportunity line items. So we've mapped the line items. They link up to the the parent. So when we get to nav, we'll see the parents and the lines all together. But the important thing here is this is all one transaction. If something were to fail, the whole entire thing would roll back. I don't have to go look for committed order headers that don't have lines down in ERP, or I don't have to look for lines that don't have a header somewhere. So this is a very nice feature. The whole entire thing rolls back when you're using these sub-transfers, and we almost use it exclusively all the time for when we're doing these types of transfers with order headers and line items. Okay, so there's our data. We've already sent the first part down to nav, right? So we've closed some opportunities. We've got some new customers. We've got some new sales orders. Let's pop over into nav, take a quick look. I already have a pre-built filter here. Here's my new customers. You can see they have some orders already, outstanding orders. If I look at my Rapidi orders, here's my Rapidi orders. I'm just going to open one up real quick. And here's my line items with the items that I had pushed over from nav to Salesforce. And now they're on an open sales order. Okay. So I am going to not post that. Oh, sorry. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to select all of these. I'm going to post all of these. So I'm going to ship and invoice them all. My posting date, because I'm using a demo environment, my posting dates are going to be a little bit out of whack, but I'm going to go with today. All right, so everything's posted. I don't have any more open orders. I can actually look at my Rapidi invoices. So here's my posted invoices. So this is going to become our sales history over in Salesforce. So I'm going to go back into my transfer, make sure my schedule is running, if it's not. It says 10:51. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go in here. I'm going to back this up just so I want it to start immediately. And in a few minutes, we should be able to see the sales history be populated into our sales history component. And then what that's going to give us is for all of our customers who had posted shipped orders, I'll be able to see what they were shipped in this item history, what their invoices are, what their ledger entries are. And make sure that this is actually running. So I have my invoices from PD now, or from ERP in Salesforce. My ledger entries are there from Salesforce also. The Rapidi ERP Lightning components provide you with the ability to see at the invoice level what's been posted in Dynamics. So if there was a credit, a return order, a payment posted against this invoice, this would be listed here. And as I mentioned, if I look at my accounts, I can see that they have a current balance. They haven't paid anything. Here's everything that they've been shipped. The sales history is my invoice, and you can see my open order has already been removed, right? I don't have an open order in ERP. I don't have one in Salesforce either. I just have a record of the invoice, which is what I want. The other pieces of the Rapidi Lightning ERP components that we provide you, there's ones that are associated with products. So you can see shipped quantities as well as open order quantities on products. And here's our full ledger entry list. And this is what we use to get the current balance from. Okay. So in our last couple of minutes here, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to, no, I don't want to do that. So I'm going to, this is a payment. And I'm going to find my PD. So for ABC number 1, I'm going to apply a payment of, say, $5,000. And I'm going to apply it to an invoice. And I only have one posted invoice, so I'm applying it to that invoice. This is where I run into the issue in the demo environment with the posting dates, unfortunately. So I'm not going to be able to post that to the invoice, but that's okay. The payment still gets applied to the customer's account. Likewise, if I pull up another, let's see, I'm going to do a quick return order. All right, I think I did something wrong with my return orders here. So Rapidi2, he's getting a credit for some reason. And he is returning the sunglasses and the pullover. So there's my return order. I'm going to just post it right away. I don't want to open it. So I've done a payment. I've done a credit memo. Now let's make sure my schedule is still running. And the last time it ran. So yeah, so I think I'm going to just stop and start it again. Back it up because I want it to launch automatically. And if I were to look at, I think this is the right account. Because of my posting date issue in Nav, it came over as from 2019. So I have my $5,000 payment. It's not applied to anything yet, but I can see it in my ledger entries also. And if I were to look at my sorry, I can see my $5,000 payment here. The minute that this completes, and we might run over a couple minutes. So if everybody has to go, just let me know. That's fine. Okay. So my sales history, I should have a credit memo. It's right here. So here's my credit memo for that return, my 2 items that were returned. If I look at this customer's history, I'll see the 2 returns in my item history. You can see my posting problem exists here because I'm returning part of them, but they're getting posted in the wrong date. And my sales history, if I look at this document, I have my invoice, and then the return has to get posted applied against the document. So using the Rapidi ERP Lightning components, I'm able to get a quick overview of everything that's happening current in the back office, right? This stuff just happened. It's all brand new data. It just happened. I didn't have to send an email to finance, operations, or anything like that. And excuse me. And what we found is our customers and our finance users from our customers love the fact that they are not answering calls from salespeople all day, and salespeople like the fact that they go into the tool that they use most often and get this information that's most important to them right away. Now, I mentioned that these components can be used on opportunity, case, or account page out of the box, and they're also able to be modified without a lot of problem. So I just want to show you what that looks like. So imagine I'm a sales user, and I'm working with ABC number 1 as my Rapidi demo account. And I've configured this particular page. I'm showing them over here also, but if I wanted to go into this page, I can see what my current balance is. I'm also able to see the details of what my shipments have been, what kind of items they've received, if I have any open orders, if there's any payments or credits or anything like that that have been applied. Okay, so I'm going to hop back to the presentation. We have a thank you, Andreas. Stay in touch, and I'll be sending out some information after this. And Barbara asked a question too. The payment applied but does not reflect in the invoice column. Is that a concern? That is a problem that I have in my test demo transfer. Thank you for noticing that. I thought I was going to get by without anybody pointing that out, but yes, that is an issue. And I can show you some actual live data where we don't have that problem. But for now, I'm just going to jump back to the to the presentation. Got caught on that one. Okay, so hopefully everybody's not asleep. So just a quick 30,000-foot overview of our technical picture. If you're on-premise with a Dynamics application, the Rapidi connector gets installed behind your firewall, usually on the server where the database runs, and it runs as a service. So this is what connects to your on-premise installation of Dynamics and talks to Rapidi the integration configuration of my Rapidi in the cloud. If you're in a completely online Azure environment with your Dynamics, it gets installed behind the Azure firewall. Our next webinar will be the Dynamics 365 Business Central to Salesforce integration demonstration. Everything's packed, compressed, SSL encrypted. You only open one outbound port in order to enable this, and then RapidiOnline in the cloud talks to Salesforce in the cloud, right? So Sales and Service Cloud in the cloud, it's all SSL encrypted. Because it's packed and compressed, it's very fast. I mean, you saw how fast it ran when we were doing the demo. And I'm sorry that I'm running over here. There's a lot to cover. I need to trim the whole thing down a little bit. A little bit about the company. We've been around for a long time, more than 20 years. Salesforce and Microsoft partners both. We have worldwide coverage. So our headquarters are in Denmark. We have product development, implementation support, customer support that happens in France and Macedonia, implementation support, customer support, as well as some sales that happen in Australia. And I'm here in the Americas doing this, as well as managing implementation projects and supporting our US customers. So the solution, again, it's a cutting-edge cloud technology. You saw kind of how easy it was to use. And if you want to hang around for a few more minutes, I'll talk about what we have coming up in the rest of this year. Completely no programming approach to configure this integration. And we do have those ways where you can declaratively impact the way the integration works just by changing some values when you're running schedules. And we do have our 5-star App Exchange rating. We have very happy customers. We're able to supply you with references, regardless of the type of Dynamics application you're using. And we like to go the extra mile for our customers. Like I said at the top, we like to see ourselves more than just providing a technical solution. We want to be partners with our customers, making sure that we are enabling the enterprise to get the most out of its data that it can by using a tool that keeps everything synchronized the way you expect it to be synchronized. All right, so you're welcome, Barbara. Please make sure you send any questions you might have to info@rapidionline.com, and you'll probably be getting some communications as a result of your attendance at this webinar. So we have some more information available online. If you go to www.rapidionline.com/resources, you can access white papers, ebooks, case stories, fact sheets, and you can actually get to our documentation at wiki.myrapidia.com, so you can get a little flavor of that also. And just some reminders, it's pretty simple because we do a lot of things out of the box. You can get up and running with an integration really quickly. And we also provide everything you need to make the data usable and impactful in Salesforce. There isn't going to be a lot of angst from your Salesforce partner to build this out either. So it's very fast because we do all that ahead of time. And it is robust, so because you don't have to know anything about programming to do this, just be able to write a formula if you're the one that's going to be configuring the data transformations. And it's very flexible. You can take our out-of-the-box pre-configured transfers and change the direction, make them bidirectional, add fields, take fields away, create new ones. I didn't get into it, but if I were to have a new Salesforce object, I would just go in, read the design of my connection. I wanted to build a new transfer. I don't know if you noticed it, but there is a button there that says build field from destination. I can build my whole transfer field list using what's in the destination. I can build my whole transfer field list using what's in the source and just continue mapping that way. Very quick, very easy to use. Okay. More information. A lot of people still hanging around. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. So I mentioned that the Rapidi Lightning components, and I'm just going to jump back there for a second. These were released in the first quarter of this year because we really understood that it's great to have a working integration, right? That works the way you want it to work, does the things you wanted to do when you wanted to do it. What's going on here? Salesforce is not liking me. But that really doesn't mean anything if the data doesn't provide any value, to the people who are looking at it. So with Rapidi, we do things, we see customers do things where sales manages accounts. They get pushed down to ERP. ERP manages like billing contacts and things like that, and they never get back up to Salesforce because nobody wants to see that. Sometimes they do. Or we allow, some customers allow the sales rep who's using Salesforce to create a new contact for an account. That's a contact of type billing. And then we push that down into a specific thing down in ERP, and the people with the correct profile get to see that and use that. So there's a lot of things you can do with this. Like I said, starting out with the pre-configured templates is a great place to just jump in, get started, and figure out how you want to change this. And I'm not sure why this is, Salesforce doesn't want to talk to me anymore. There we go. So I mentioned these components. Now, because these are currently in an unmanaged package, right? You can pull these around. You can place them anywhere. If you have a custom page that's built on account, you can just put these right on there. A custom page built on opportunity, account, or case, you can use these right out of the box. Put them wherever you want. If you're familiar with the Lightning page design, if you have a custom Lightning page template, you can put them right in there. Also, they'll fit in there. I think these will work in like the service and sales console as well. And I showed you that we have the ones at the product level. So if I were to look at one of these items specifically, I could see what's been shipped and what's been on order. I can also see who it's been shipped to. All of these Lightning components that we're looking at here are totally customizable. And because we're not in a managed package with them yet, you have an opportunity to make these look however you want to look. And we'll help you do the customization for that. In addition, if you have any custom objects and custom object pages that reference an account, an opportunity, or a case, or essentially anything that you can derive the account ID from, you can use these components on there too with very little customization. And we'll help you do that also. So, like I mentioned, we want to make sure that not only are people getting the right size, robust integration for the right price, but you're actually, continually delivering that valuable data. It's great to have the integration, but if nobody wants to use the data or can't use it or it's too difficult to use, it's not really worth too much. So we want to make sure that we bring this data to life in your CRM environment because that's really the whole point. And using the Rapidi platform really makes it easy, it's quick, and it's robust. All right, so I think that is going to be it for us today. I would really like to thank everybody who stayed around for these last 8 or 9 minutes here. And please, if you have any questions at all, go to www.RapidiOnline. Check out our documentation there, and like I said, we can connect you with a reference for any type of the sales or the ERP environments. So if you have customers who had Dynamics AX, GP, Nav on-premise, any version, Nav 2017, if they've installed that in an Azure environment in the cloud, we can do that also. And I also mentioned our next webinar will be covering the same sort of process, but we'll be using the new Dynamics 365 Business Central connected to Salesforce. And that's completely cloud-based. All right, again, thanks everybody. Thanks for hanging in there for this extra time, and I hope you all have a good day. And I will follow up with you here shortly. Stephen has left, but you can all tell him that I'm going to be following up with him. All right, thanks a lot. Have a good day.